Hello everyone, welcome to the Rise of China. Today's topic is, China's chip beyond the United States is only a matter of time. 2022 absolute China's chip year. This year China's chip imports are rapidly declining, but also enough to prove that China is not dependent on imports. China's chip has a complete industrial chain, which is a well-known thing, but many people still do not know. In fact, China's chip production capacity also ushered in a burst of growth. I believe that even the United States did not expect, and more importantly, China's chip environment is a good thing, but ushered in the United States greater suppression and sanctions. Whether it is technology patent licensing or chip export control, the United States of America on China's chip industry sanctions are increasingly strong. However, China's chip production capacity burst growth, but most of the United States ban completely invalid. German media reported that the future of China will be a semiconductor power. The British media claimed that China and the United States have gradually developed into two technology systems, which are not all bullish on the sound of Chinese chips, but also because the more this voice, the more nervous the United States will feel. And I wonder if there is any ulterior motive behind this story. Is it deliberately reported to the United States to see? This China does not know, but one thing China can be sure, that is, the chip may be infinite development, but the global market is only one, which means that as long as China's chip industry is developing better and better, it means that the corresponding U.S. chip industry is bound to be a serious shrinkage of the situation. Indeed, the United States in 1990, the global semiconductor manufacturing industry accounted for up to 37%, now in 2020 but down to only 12%. On the contrary, China's global semiconductor manufacturing industry from 1990 accounted for 0%, has risen to 25% in 2020. 2021 is up to 34.6%. China's development in the chip industry has been unstoppable. 2022 China's chip production capacity is ushered in a burst of growth. Chip exports even hit a record high, which means that now not China is dependent on foreign chips, but foreign countries are dependent on China's chip manufacturing. It must be said that the United States to engage in what chip export controls, not knowing that China is the master of the power of life and death of chip exports. That is, if China does not export chips, then many countries around the world may not have a core available. Many people are overwhelmed by the fact that the chip exports are concentrated in the Chinese region. You can imagine, if the United States holds the power of life and death, then how many companies will have no core available? Then the global lack of core embarrassing situation is not further worsened, according to industry bigwigs. Intel's chief executive officer publicly said that the global chip shortage in 2021 has caused the United States $240 billion in economic losses. China is aware that there are many reasons for the global chip shortage, but the real core reason, that is, the global chip production capacity is insufficient, precisely because there are not enough chips available, the status quo of the lack of cores naturally. So whether China's chip production capacity to solve the global shortage of cores? What does the global shortage of core behind the burst of production capacity mean? In fact, the volume of China's chip is still not enough to deal with the global chip market, although China is already a chip demand countries, but also a chip exporting countries. But the global chip volume is beyond China's imagination, not to mention that there is the United States, this blocking tiger in front of the block. That is, even if China can solve the problem of global shortage of core, they are bound to block it. But there is one thing China can for sure, the global lack of core is bound to be the hope of the development of China's chip industry, because the lack of core is due to the global chip ecological imbalance. The global industry chain is not complete, so to improve and reshape, then only China can do. After all, China is the country with a complete chip industry chain. Has always been considered the semiconductor industry is the most thoroughly globalized field. It can be said that no country can guarantee that they can build a completely independent semiconductor industry chain by themselves. Even the United States cannot do this, so only with many countries jointly formed a chip alliance. The U.S. Semiconductor Association even said directly that it is difficult to ascend to the top, but China's chip industry, the development environment of China's chip industry has surprised them. China has not only achieved independent research and development in many areas, China has 100% pure domestic production lines. This year, China's chip production capacity ushered in the explosion, but the United States exclaimed that this is impossible. But what if it is impossible? China still did it. Although this still cannot solve the problem of global shortage of core, but eventually China is bound to be in the wave of shortages. China is bound to stand out and successfully occupy the high ground in the field of chips, thus solving the world's problems. In recent years, China has been actively promoting the One Belt, One Road initiative and has established cooperative relationships with more and more countries. As China's overall strength continues to grow, this proposal has been recognized by many countries, hoping to seek better development for themselves through this initiative. According to the latest news, more than 140 countries have signed cooperation agreements with China, which is a testimony to the remarkable achievements of China in recent years in the Belt and Road Initiative. This situation has also become a focus of attention for the United States and other Western countries, which are trying to suppress and restrict China. According to media reports, Chinese experts have previously stated that more than 140 countries have signed cooperation treaties with China on the Belt and Road, with a total investment of more than 10 trillion yuan. This situation fully reflects China's own development potential in the economic and other fields, which has been recognized and appreciated by many countries that want to maintain cooperation with China in this way, and then to gain greater benefits for themselves. But at the same time, the United States and some other Western countries have also started to pay attention to China, and have set up the so-called Chip Alliance and Semiconductor Alliance one after another, in an attempt to contain the development of China's high-tech field by this means. According to the latest news, the People's Bank of China recently released new data. 2021, the total amount of cross-border payments between countries along the Belt and Road and China has reached 542 million yuan, an increase of 19.6% over the previous year. In addition, exchanges and cooperation between China and these countries in terms of direct investment and trade in goods have also improved significantly, and many other countries have also started to establish corresponding RMB clearing mechanisms. Once Intel is the rightful king of the chip, in the PC computer CPU market share was once as high as 80%, occupying the dominant position for more than 30 years. But today's financial data and the previous financial indicators compared are in varying degrees of decline. For the reasons for the decline in performance, Intel's finance director Zinsner said that small and medium-sized enterprises to slow down PC procurement, the rapid decline in the economy, but also led to many chip supply chain problems. Earlier, AMD, the chip giant with a market capitalization of about $100 billion, announced its third-quarter earnings forecast well below market expectations. The company warned of a sharp slowdown in demand for its PC business, and AMD closed down nearly 14% the day after pre-releasing its third-quarter earnings report. Wall Street also reacted to the company, a collective price target cut. On January 17 this year, when TSMC shares made a new record high price of 688 new Taiwan dollars, many people shouted that TSMC was the protector of Taiwan's sacred mountain and that buying TSMC shares would make money lying down and selling at will. Now the people who hold TSMC stock can no longer be fooled. From today's January 17 intraday high of 688 NTD to the last day of September intraday 423 NTD, the stock price has collapsed to 265 NTD, a drop of 38.52%, no longer able to find the old days casually sell, casually earn the kind of feeling. Then look at China's chip market. As we all know, since recent years, China's chip industry has maintained a relatively rapid development. Especially in 2021, China's chip production scale reached 359.4 billion. However, by 2022, the situation is a little reversed, has been a continuous growth of domestic chip production out of the negative growth. According to the Bureau of Statistics data, From January to August this year, China's cumulative production of chips totaled 218.10 billion, a cumulative negative growth of 10% year-on-year, and is 8 consecutive months of negative growth, the worst record ever, ending the growth trend that lasted 13 years. From the performance point of view, South Korea's Samsung Electronics has been the first to burst the lightning. Samsung Electronics released the third quarter preliminary results report, the third quarter revenue of 76 trillion won, up 2.7%, operating profit of 10.8 trillion won, down 31.7% year-on-year, the first decline in 3 years.